What up, you guys? Shabbat Shalom, or not quite, but we're close. Happy Friday. We're here for our weekend tarot and oracle message. This is usually a week recap and reflection, and today is no different. We're using the oracle of the Radiant Sun and the Dreaming Way Tarot, which I think pair so beautifully together. And I love them for our weekend messages on Fridays. I think they make a really great pair for that. So with no further ado, from Radiant Sun Oracle, we've got Charity, which is Saturn in Cancer. Followed by Venus in Leo, which is Affair. Followed by Mercury in Virgo, Caution. Followed by Mercury, followed by Mercury in Taurus, Resistance. Underneath Charity, we've got 10 of Cups. Underneath Affair, we have the High Priestess reversed. Underneath Caution, we've got 9 of Wands. Underneath Resistance, we had the Death card come up, also paired with Page of Cups. All right. So this is a really good recap and synopsis. I'm gonna have some coffee while we talk. Of the lessons of not only this past week, but generally the last 2 to 3 weeks. I felt the call of Pisces kind of dragging us into the depths even before Pisces season was upon us. It was like the last week of Aquarius. It was like Pisces was already like, just come on. So we were getting prepared to make our descent, almost is the image I was just given. It's like if you've ever been scuba diving or know anything about scuba diving, you have to like go down slowly through the depths, or else you'll get like air bubbles in your respiratory system called the bends. And it can be pretty dangerous. It can range. But anyway, enough about that. So you have to acclimate as you go into the depths. So that was kind of like what was going on. And so Pisces was taking us, further in than ever because it had a lot of work to do. And we needed to round out. My friend and I were having this conversation earlier, and I was like, oh, I meant to point that out about this because they're not into astrology. So it's one of those people that's just out in the world living, and they're like, what is going on? I have no idea. Like all this stuff. And they're describing what we've been talking about. So it's like, oh my gosh, like we at least have some training wheels to hold on to. The other people are just out there, with their dicks in the wind, like hoping everything's going to be like, what the fuck is going on, right? Hoping it's all going to be okay. So Pisces has had us looking into our depths because there is a huge timeline jump where the old life series, Netflix, the show Us, is no longer. It's concluded. We've finished. But everybody loves the show, right? So it got picked right back up. But it's got new rules. We're throwing out the old canon. We don't have to go by the old storylines or plot lines anymore. None of those stories apply. It doesn't matter what the characters' relational dynamics were with each other anymore. We can break the rules. The character doesn't have to be driven by their old motives, essentially. And so this revamp of the show is getting picked right back up. And so we're right here now, getting launched into this new season. And the way that life works is that we get dealt this fate, this hand of fate. And if we don't do any inner work, then that's probably how life is going to play out. And generally, our natal chart will tell us what this is. The key is to use that natal chart to rise above the hand that you're dealt and claim your destiny. And the way that you do that is through your soul's progression and healing and correction, and the healing that we do on our mind and our heart and our consciousness, and even on our nervous systems. And so all that's been coming up. So now, like, in order to finally, like, sweep up and get clear of all of the old stuff that we don't want to take into this next new life, the series, we don't want this affecting our story anymore, right? So we're getting super clear right now on, like, letting go of old stories, letting go of old patterns, letting go of old, like, grudges or like old wounds that have come up that they're going to present so that we can heal them and let go. And so that we're not weighted down by negative density that literally weighs us down from moving forward. Energetically speaking, it throws us into dissonance from our higher path. And so what we're doing now is we're building more affinity with that higher self. We've been doing the work and clearing the groundwork. And so anything that's left that needs to kind of go or be edited or tweaked or shifted or changed or let go of is, like, kind of coming forward now. So our biggest patterns have been presenting in broad ways. Well, now we're starting to see them the way that they show up in our micro moments during the day, and what is motivating that and how to address them. And so we've arrived at a point where we've gone through so much of the emotional healing and facing those feelings, feeling them, purging them, grieving them, celebrating them, honoring them, sitting with them, holding space for them. We're like, okay, I've done everything that I can now. And you're like, I've shifted my attitude. Like, I see this differently. The perspective has changed. I am doing everything I can to break those thought processes and not go through, like, the soap opera in my mind anymore that hurts my own feelings from memories and then exaggerated scenarios. It's like, okay, breaking the thought patterns. Now, you know, and you're like, okay, so I've been doing a lot of work to sort through this and understand where these things are rooted from. But then, like, what do you do from there? Because it's like, okay, if you've addressed the soul issues and you're addressing the spiritual issues and you're coming at that and you're praying and you're using all the spiritual tools and you're also meditating and journaling, doing the cleansing, trying to literally break your ego and die to those parts of yourself. It's like, what's left? What's left? What is it? Why is this pattern continuing to show up? It's living in our nervous systems. So early childhood, this card talks about Saturn in Cancer. This mentions people that had maybe a very severe or extreme childhood who still carry the wounds of that child in their adulthood. Now, that is an intuitive way that a person, like a mystic, would write that in a card, right? But literally, in these modern times, we've discovered that our nervous system can play out like subtle trauma responses of childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome in our adult life that are very subtle to pick up on. But these are the things that our patterns are built upon. Like, for instance, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and limerence are something that hide very sneakily and craftfully in our lives, and they're almost just like normalized in society, but we just don't know that it's not just us and our BS and our toxic trait. It's actually something that our nervous system is stuck on a repeat setting. And maybe that's not true for everyone, but it is true for people who have childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome. So right now, it's like, hey, the key to your fulfillment, what is blocking you right now to this fulfillment? The 10 of Cups is like fulfillment, harmony, bliss. It's domestic bliss. It's having that partnership that you've dreamt of and that home life that you've always dreamt of. Well, Cancer and Saturn, it's like there's things to do with our origins of security and family and home, right? And where we came from and our threshold for that kind of security and how to create that. And so our nervous system only knows the chaos that it grew up in. So we've got to get in there and rewrite it. And so, yes, there are like low-level manifestations of what is childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome on a loop that has become patterns in us over a lifetime that results in behaviors that keep us thwarted, that block our process, that block block the gateway, that most people who are just like functional are able to just have this, like think about this as that person who had like the plaid couch family. They had like the reasonable, like emotionally stable parents. They had secure attachment styles. They had, pretty logical, practical parents who were, just religious enough and spiritual. They had, ethics and morals given to them and support and like love and encouragement. And then they are capable of growing up and learning how to have relationships, but ultimately they have generally functional relationships. They know when to break up and like move on and not linger and like, pine over someone. And they, do well, like they're productive in tasks. They can go to the dry cleaner, like they can have something altered or repaired. Doesn't take years to do that. Like they, progress in their career. They're functional, right? Functional people. Those people have regulated nervous systems. The people who are intelligent, creative, loving people that are just like, I sit down to do the work and like nothing is fruitful from it. Like I cannot physically do this task. I have like, so my mind just sends me elsewhere, and then I get sidetracked or what have you. Or like the person who is limerent on a person in unrequited love, right? That is a huge form of nervous system dysregulation and escape when you're feeling traumatized and triggered. Now, the thing about these triggers is that because they come from childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome, they're extra charged, and so they're extra sensitive. And so subtle things in your adult mind could be happening, and you don't have like this outward response that you think, but instead you go on maybe like some daydreamy limerent thing that like ends up sucking your time up too often. Or you become like a person who obsesses over the potential of your dreams and goals, but like you're not doing the real work that like gets you there step by step. And so it's like recognizing these things, getting familiar with them. And I'm going to give you like a couple of suggestions for these things that have helped me a lot. Get into the nitty gritty and the detail of what that looks like. And then like flight. So flight is like avoidance, complete avoidance. Like leaving a situation anytime it gets difficult or confrontational. Fawning is like doing whatever you can to people please to make sure that you're not left behind or like abandoned or whatever. And then freezing in adulthood can be like underperformance, right? That what I just talked about. It's like you sit down to do things and it's like it just like nothing happens. Or either that or you do the work and stuff and it's like seems like some magical force is thwarting you from like causes that are out of your control, right? So this just keeps playing out. The unconscious is so powerful. And then energy is so mutable according to our observation. So if we're having unconscious observations, it's like self-fulfilling prophecies everywhere that are coming from the subconscious. So we really need to regulate our nervous systems, recognize when they're when they're dysregulated, and recognize those patterns and those signs where we're like, okay, this is about a physical habit that I need to break, and physical discipline that I need to put in place of practicing awareness and presence, and then recognizing when you're in default setting and you're about to do a pattern, and then pausing and examining that without judgment, just observing it so you can recognize it, learn it, because then that disempowers it. And then you can choose, oh my gosh, I have free will now. I can actually choose differently with your sovereignty in check. Now, that takes practice to make new patterns and new habits. So one of the channels that I found on YouTube that is incredibly helpful to teach you how to identify like childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome, and if you have those behaviors and the different ones and like how they can look in adulthood. And then she also answers like letters, like she'll read letters that people send and like she'll like workshop through the letter. And so it helps you like through these other people's stories, you're like, oh my God, that was me too, or this was me, and oh, that I have that tendency. And so it was very helpful because sometimes we see our big patterns, how they affect our life over the years or over the weeks and months, but we don't recognize those little micro decisions and actions that we're taking through each day and every day. So her channel is called Crappy Childhood Fairy. The other channel that I found that is very helpful is by Thais Gibson, who she's like the guru on attachment styles. She's a psychotherapist, and I think that was her expertise and her thing that she started. I think it rooted from her, either that or she's like the big voice of the thing right now. So her channel is called The Personal Development School. And don't be fooled by the thumbnails and the titles of the videos. It looks a little bit like spammy, like you're trying to obsessively figure out how to navigate like relationships with these people in order to like force it to be what you want. But it's not like that. It's just that that's the kind of videos that people click on. But if you watch her videos, she's actually helping. It's what's more helpful than anything is to be like, oh, okay, those are my attachment styles. I didn't expect myself to be like that, or I didn't really recognize that in myself, but I am now. And then it also helps you see who in your life before had what attachment style, and maybe it helps you unpack why they were a certain way, and maybe it had nothing to do with you, kind of thing. So that video, and plus it's another tool that helps you become more literate in managing like relationship and communication skills and all of that. So that's helpful. And then the other tool that I like to use is To Be Magnetic, and they're a company that has like workshops. They have an online like membership site where you can take their workshops. You can either buy the workshop and have it for a certain amount of time, or you can pay a monthly membership and just have access to the full website all the time, which is that's what I would suggest doing. And it's $30 a month. I have an affiliate link below that would give you 15% off on your monthly membership. So yeah, I am an affiliate, but I was singing this company's praises for a year before they ever had an affiliate program, and I think I manifested that program. So yeah, but I can't say enough good things about it. And you can also listen to their podcast for free, and their podcast is called Expanded, and you can follow them on Instagram, To Be Magnetic, and you can get a lot of great information and tools just from listening to the podcast and following them there. But what they have on the website that makes it all the more worth it is not only do the workshops target unblocking certain areas of your life, like unblocked money, unblocked love, unblocked inner child, unblocked shadow, rock bottom, up level, rut. There are like different challenges that are curated at certain times of year, and then there's a whole library of monthly like calls where they give like an hour discussion on like questions that have been written in, and then they have this whole library of DIs, which are deep imaginings, and there are these specific types of meditations that are designed and created with neural scientists who use certain binaural beats and everything to get your brain waves and your mind in that sort of like impressionable, I think it's alpha state, where you're tapping into the subconscious and you can actually change your subconscious. And so there's these guided meditations that get you in just the right state and guide you through these prompts to go back, deal with that trauma, rewrite regulate the nervous system, and rewrite the subconscious. And so it really helps you do the work. There's a lot of workshopping and journaling around it, and it's great because you're not bypassing the spiritual work, you're actually going deeper into it. And you're understanding more about it, you're deepening your self-worth, you're also building your trust in the creator, and as a result, you're starting to manifest these things coming into your life because you're starting to get more in alignment with that higher self and like letting go of all of the density and wounding and separation from being whole within yourself, right? That your wounds have been playing out. So that is an incredibly helpful tool. And then also I'm a member of the Kabbalah Center, and I like to take Kabbalah classes through them. And I think that's super amazing as well. And they have like daily videos that are put up like for daily Bible studies, and they have all kinds of stuff on their website. Okay, let's keep going. So, getting to the root of those patterns will be essential. Affair with the high priestess. Now, there's two kinds of storylines going on right now. So, I'm going to go with the motivational on our goals before I come back, I think, to the, or maybe I'll just talk about everything all at once. So, piggybacking off of what is thwarting our progress. This is sort of, it's all related. So it's love and money. It's like, what is keeping us from really aligning with success and our purpose? And what is preventing us from aligning with having successful relationships in romance and love? And so basically, getting to the root of it, we're breaking those patterns so that we can shift and get out of that Groundhog Day. But at the same time, after having been through all of this, it's like there's a little bit of tiredness and wariness. And it's like we need to get that love and lust back for life and for our dreams and for going after what we want. We need to reignite an active desire, that love affair for life. The high priestess reversed, in a one way, it says like there's nothing hidden beneath the surface. Like everything is kind of what it seems, superficial, and you don't need to go any further and look any deeper. So it's like we know what we need to do in order to kind of get this going again, and what we actually the actions that we need to take. And it's like we need to be a little bit more like just focused and take action. There's not enough energy behind what's going on right now to push you over the hump. So it's like it's like the key is kind of turning, but the ignition isn't turning over. So we kind of need to get that lust for life back on track. And we need to start developing that sense of fulfillment within. In order to have this fulfillment in our life, it has to come from inside, and then it attracts from the outside. That's the only way we have it permanently, or else it's just this up and down with life, because we're kind of like oscillating up and down, up and down. So the high priestess, so in the personal sense though, it's like there may be a love affair. Like it doesn't have to be like a literal affair, but it's just like something that was like a romance that happened that was just all it could be. And maybe there was like, you wondered if this was like, if there was more or whatever, but it's like, no, it didn't have enough to like give. It was like, it was a bright flashing moment, but it didn't have anything to sustain it. It didn't have anything to go the distance, or it was what it was in the beauty of that moment, but now it's past. So there's been like cards coming up this week about releasing our ex. So I feel like the universe is like, cut ties with anything from the past, appreciate where you've been, and like just move forward. Do whatever you're kind of like hung up on or have hopes on right now. It's like, there's not enough there. It's gonna be superficial. It's just like, it is all it is, and it's not going deeper or further. There also might be a conversation with someone who is coming off in a way that they're projecting that everything is okay or better than it is, but they're like just trying to keep up pretenses, and like maybe just under the surface, like you kind of feel like that's what's going on, and you're right. And you're absolutely right about that. Let's see. There was something else about the high priestess reverse that I wanted to mention, so I'm gonna look at that real quick. Superficial situation. There are no secret activities involved. So, yeah, and then maybe like, for instance, in our daily card, the Three of Swords came up. And so maybe there was something that you look back on and you're like, you were worried that maybe something was more sinister, or like something was happening and it wasn't, or something, but maybe like things like there's not like, maybe you feel like you're always looking over your shoulder for like something to like the rug to like get ripped out, and it's like not as malicious as it seems. It's just like they're like, this person didn't have enough to give at the time. Like it wasn't for any other reason. And this could be a pattern, right, of people who come through at a time where they don't have enough to give. And so you're breaking that pattern of settling for less, right? You're listening to your intuition and you're seeing that there's just not enough there to sustain. Because Nine of Wands is about like having the strength to like get through the hard part, the tired part, and persevere and break patterns and continue to like persevere towards a goal even when you're like exhausted, right? Okay, so still High Priestess reverse. At this point, examine everything. Do not place your trust until you have completely analyzed the situation. So in a way, it's like there's nothing hidden here, but at the same time, like don't trust it completely until you've really analyzed it, because there may not be enough to sustain whatever anyway. Like it may not be that there's anything hidden. It's just that it still may not be the right thing for you. Can refer to a person with weak character and lacking in stamina. Lacking in stamina. Could affect a relationship or any kind of support you may be needing. So again, this could be like someone that just couldn't live up to, they couldn't be your equal. They couldn't give you what you wanted or deserved or weren't capable of or willing to for whatever reason. And so it's like, just move forward. Don't let this hold you back. Like, don't let this be one of those patterns that you repeat in limerence, right? So yeah, think about that. And as a person, like as yourself, like getting your energy back and an active desire to go after what you want. It's like you may be feeling like kind of weak in character right now and lacking in stamina. And it's like, we need to turn that around, because that's also what's needed to get any momentum right now in our goals towards love, money, purpose, towards it all. And so caution here. Mercury in Virgo, where is that? I wanted to make sure to read these 2 or 3 lines that I underlined, because that was like the most important part. Oh yes, okay, so do not waste time on unclear or confused thinking. So if you are like, I wonder what that whole thing was about, should I have or shouldn't I have or whatever, it's like, don't keep like turning this over and over and over again. Don't get stuck in confusion. One of the freeze responses is that whole over-analysis paralysis, right? Being indecisive, being unable to make a decision because you're so afraid of making the wrong decision or making a mistake. So again, do not waste time on unclear or confused thinking. Again, with relationships that are up in the air or, unclear, it's like, don't waste time on things that are not in alignment ultimately with your goals and your relationship values and what you're looking for, what's not compatible. It's like, don't waste time if things aren't clear, just move forward. Also, the work environment of this person is very important. So bringing peace to your work environment will help your concentration and focus and being more organized, right? So if we're getting around ways to sort of re-regulate our nervous system, it's also going to help us get over the hump and pattern of being more successful when we sit down to work on our goals and our projects. And even at work, like if you have a job that is not related to your goals and your manifestation, don't participate in things at work that rile up your irritations that have to do with conflict or like harshness if you can. Like don't participate in it. Just try to maintain harmony and unity within yourself and with your immediate surroundings the best you can, because that is something that you need to be able to use your brain function the best. And then I'm feeling like yeah, like the resistance to change here, because we've got the Mercury in Taurus and the Death card here. Death card is change and transformation. And it's like, this is like something that our personality is just so used to, that muscle memory of our default setting of those responses, that it's hard, and our personality is going to resist this change. But we need this transformation, because it is like, if we don't make these changes, it's just perpetuating like death and stagnancy in our lives, and we're not moving forward. There needs to be hard work and self-discipline and consistency involved. And ultimately, like, so this person described in Mercury and Taurus is completely logically like prone. They don't want to take risks unless they're completely logical. But the Page of Cups is intuitive and creative and sensitive. And so so this conversation with a person that's like making it seem like, or like maybe you didn't have a conversation, maybe there's just this appearance of someone or a situation or circumstances in your life that seems one way, and maybe it's not, or maybe there needs to be forgiveness in some situations, or just hospitality or neutrality rather than like vengeance, forgiving the past, forgiving others. There's so many layers in this reading. And so then resistance, there's like this adopting the balance of not getting so stuck in your logical mind that you can't listen to your intuition and follow your intuitive hunches. Oh, right. So be like sensitive and empathic listener to others who might need to like open up, and maybe like the situation isn't what you think. Maybe they're, if you give them a patient, sensitive ear, you'll find out that like there's more going on behind the scenes, and they're coming off in a way that's maybe like crunchy or harsh, or in such a way that might be triggering, or you're like, but maybe it's not really the case. Maybe that's just their appearances. And if you are honest and have patience, and are open and understanding, like you'll find out what's really happening. Like maybe they need a sensitive friend, rather than cutting them off, rather than being stubborn and resistant and like triggered and cutting them off. Like just be open to like sitting with an individual. Generally, we have been asked to make peace with our relationships and with things within us and with our past and with our surroundings. So generally speaking, I think that the more that we can arrive at that, the more forward progress we will have. And don't get too stuck on relying solely on your logic. Like be able to adopt that divine feminine side also of embracing absurdity, because many times when you get guidance from spirit and the higher self, Holy Spirit, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make logical sense. It's not on our timeline. We don't see that it's related to anything. So we have to be able to embrace that absurdity sometimes when we know it's like our intuition is speaking to us. And that's why sometimes we can't rely on logic alone. We have to be able to take risks when we feel that it is right to. All right, you guys, I hope y'all have a great weekend. I hope that you are able to do some research and have some really great revelations about yourself that help you, that liberate you, honestly, from habits and self-defeating tendencies that can easily go under the radar because of their subtlety for years and years and years. So hopefully we can break those patterns and recognize some things and have a fresh start coming soon. All right, y'all. Ciao.